breathe, connect. It's always time for your best you, and it's time for your best you now. We're in October on the 4th chakra. As you know, that's color green, and we'll be working with that color a little bit today and some of the things around it. I'm so glad you decided to stop in today and visit with me. I hope you're going to have a good time. You know, I've got a fun guest coming in later on for the show. But before I start with the guest, you know that Celtic background that I have? Well, this is the spooky time of the year with Samhain, which started with the Druids. And when I always go back to the days of yore, I think, well, Halloween, you know, it had an origin. What did it mean? And how did it get to the point where it is now? One doesn't often think of Halloween associated with the heart chakra. We don't think about romance and love during Halloween, and yet it's a time when we celebrate the dead. But we also know that when the time of the dark days were here and we didn't have lights, and the seasons changed, and the days became colder, and the supplies became less sparse, that the dichotomy between the rich and the poor was really strongly made aware. And so when it became dark, what would happen is their supplies that they had got in the harvest would disappear, long associated with the spirits and ghosts and goblins. So there was a common practice every year, right at the time when we're coming to right now, when we know we're going to be changing our clocks because it's getting darker and the days get shorter and the dark gets longer. And so every year around this time, there would be a big bonfire and everyone would dress up in costumes. And truly it was to ward off the bad spirits and hope that, you know, your supplies wouldn't be ruined or your family wouldn't become sick and die. So I thought about the Druids, and I went into my library and pulled out the Irish fairy book. And there's a W.B. Yeats little fairy song poem I thought I'd open today with. We who are old, old and gay, oh so old, thousands of years if all were told. Give to these children new from the world, silence and love, in the long dew-dropping hours of the night and the stars above. Give to these children new from the world, rest far from men. Is anything better? Anything better? Tell us it then, us who are old, old and gay, oh so old, thousands of years, if all were told. So here we're at a time of the year where we're giving to the little children, and actually it even came to the time where it was converted into what one would call soul cakes, so that the wealthy would come to the poor and offer them food in kind of agreement that they would pray for their family and for their children to have the soul cake. So it's got an interesting background. I thought I'd start with that, just to kind of give us a little sense of where did All Hallows Eve come from and how did it get to this place we are now? Well, you know, I was, got a little birdie, tweet, 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 came into my ear recently and told me, speaking of lore and old legends and old and gay and thousands of years, that within my very community, and probably within yours too, there's a local good witch. And I think she may come visit us today, if we're careful. I think I might hear her. Oh,
hey,
that was quick. She came very fast.
I was very tuned into you.
My goodness.
I brought some
Good
Halloween
witch.
candy, so happy Halloween. And Samhain blessings.
Thanks.
Thank you
Samhain
for
blessings to you, too.
Thank you. Thank you
Old,
for having
old
me.
and gay. Coming a long, long way. So, Miss Goodwitch, I don't know if you said you were tuning in. Did you happen to hear what I was talking about, your ancient history and
Yes.
the Druids?
Yes.
And I noticed you're wearing one of the type of garbs that, well, I mean, you're a good witch.
Yes, I am.
How'd you get to be a good witch?
I enjoy the spirituality and the love of Mother Earth and of crystals and the stars. And so I began to study that. And I believe in magic. And I know with your intentions that you can make things happen that you would normally think, oh my gosh, that can't possibly be. But I've seen it happen more times. I know it's true.
Now, I heard there was a little child who came to me and
Yes.
told me a story. I don't know what you're talking about with all this spirituality and crystals, but I'm talking about the little children, and they were telling me that they came to your door one year.
Yes, they did. There were 2 little boys that came, and as I was giving out the Halloween candy, one of them kind of nudged the other one and said, "It's a real witch." But they took the candy. They didn't run. And a little while later, there was this beautiful little girl. She couldn't have been more than like 3 years old or 4 years old. And she was at the bottom of the steps, and she was a little afraid to come up. And she looked at me with these big, beautiful eyes, and she said, "Are you a witch?" And I came down the stairs to her, and I said, "Yes, I am, but I'm a good witch." And the smile on her face was just so beautiful. And she, took some candy and had a wonderful Halloween. So we celebrate that every year.
So a good witch passes out candy. Not
Candy.
crystals.
Correct.
Yeah.
On Halloween.
Because all the children are coming out.
Yes.
And I know that we have to be careful, and we do have different colors to associate for allergies with the kids, and it is only one time of the year, and some of us say, well, it's okay as long as we can keep it in control, but
Right.
we do want to watch with our sugar intake.
Oh,
but it is a
definitely.
fun time of the year to
It
share
sure
sugar,
is.
isn't it?
Yes, it is. I still remember last Halloween was phenomenally fun. We were living somewhere else, and the children just were in swarms, and it was just so much fun to see the costumes and to see their smiling faces and to enjoy, sharing Halloween with them. So.
Well, I think that it's a holiday for all ages.
Yes, it is.
And when it actually started, like I said, back in the time when there was fear of the dark,
Yeah.
and there weren't lights, and we do know that ghosts do exist, right?
Ooh, yes.
And we do have this time of the year when the day and the night equalize out, and the veil is thin.
I was just going to say that the veil between life and death, between ourselves and the spirit world, is very thin, and you are more likely to get visits
From your uncle, your grandmother.
or your mom and dad, or even your pets that may have passed away.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's interesting that, we sometimes think that there's a fear and that it's a scary time.
Yeah.
But quite interestingly, when I was taking a look through my notes, and would you like to join me for a cup of tea
I
while
would
we're
love
doing
to.
this?
I would love to.
I was looking over about the history of Halloween, and of course, we know about it's spelled Sainha, Samhain, and everybody wants to know how do you pronounce it, but it's so S-O-W-N, Samhain. So you think about kind of like a female pig, right? And then and then you have the pronunciation. But it was also an interesting time because I know we've heard about.
Pour?
Please. It was also an interesting time because I know we heard about apple bobbing. Remember apple bobbing?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I never knew that apple bobbing was related to the romance.
No, I didn't
But
either.
actually, Halloween has a whole vein of romance and heart-related energy to it.
That's amazing.
Excuse me, you know it's that time of the year.
Yes, it is.
Transitioning. I haven't quite found the right lozengers yet. But yeah, so there's the apple bobbing, okay? But what else did they do? And I won't stand because I'll get everyone in the crew, you know, because then I'll be 10 feet tall. But what would happen would be couples would get together. Now remember, I'm in times of yore. We didn't have this and swipe left, swipe right. You had community gatherings where people got together and it was getting dark. And it was called coupling season. Sometimes we still call it that, the coupling season, as the season gets dark. But you know, how do you get people to meet and know who's going to be your partner?
Yeah.
And so they would have the apples, and they would put symbols on the apples. And as you bobbed, and you came up with the apple, it would give you a sense of who was going to be your future mate.
Oh, that's an interesting story.
And then, of course, you know, probably the awkwardness is around dating and how to do the dating.
Yep.
Do you ever hear of the apple bobbing? They would tie an apple to a string. And then,
This is a new one. I have never heard of this.
And then the people would be in a party.
Okay.
And they'd have to get together, and someone would have to be able to grab the apple. Except it didn't have anything to do with getting the apple, you know what it had to do with, don't you?
It had to get with getting
Getting
close
the kiss,
together and
getting the kiss from the girl. If you could get a kiss.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Can you imagine back in that time?
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, I thought, how interesting, because we look at our Halloween now and we think about the kids coming to the door and the candy, but, you know, we know that there's a history to it.
Yes.
And
A fun history.
There's so much more to it than,
Yeah.
you know, when you think about the Druids, who were a population of Celtics that were almost exterminated entirely because of their magic.
Yeah.
You know, and whether or not it was the magic of the fear of the power that they had within the community, which is probably more likely,
Yeah.
They were almost entirely eliminated. But because of them, we have the tradition of this time of the year where we have big bonfires, and you know, it's kind of like, it's also called the celebration of the dead.
Yep.
All Souls Day.
Right. Well, All Souls Day, and then the next day is All Saints Day. Mm-hmm. So, but it's All Souls, because in a lot of cultures, especially like in the Polish cultures, they light candles and have them burning at the grave sites for, I think, definitely for that night, but I think they light them a couple of days before, and it runs until the candle runs out. And it's pretty amazing to go by a cemetery that has those lights glowing. I mean, it's very, very beautiful.
Celebration of the dead.
Celebrating your dead relatives, you know, your dead ancestors.
And there's such
very,
a big
very
heart,
beautiful.
a beautiful heart to Halloween. So
Yeah.
I thought when I did the research, it was like the heart of Halloween, and coming up with a topic of light topic, but also relevant and
Yep.
kind of fresh for us to connect with. And you know, also when we think about green, and I was mentioning it to Brian Biggie, who's one of our main director people here at Nutmeg TV, who helps with all the shows, and he was surprised to hear that, you know, too, it's like, wow, there's a lot that goes on with Halloween.
Yeah, a lot more than most people think of, or that they even have any idea.
So when you think of green and you think of the heart, you know, I said, what do you think of? It's like envy, you know,
Well, yeah,
jealousy.
green,
a jealous
green with
heart.
envy.
Right, or a jealous heart,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So oftentimes there's the light and the dark. And as I've said, you know, everything is energy. And so when we have this world in which we live, where one can't exist without the other.
This is true, because you have to have that balance.
Right. So we have lights, and we dress up in costumes, and we bob for apples, and we pass out candy bars.
Yep.
And we celebrate the dead, and we reconnect with ones who have passed away.
Yep.
And we also think about gargoyles. Gargoyles were put on the outside of a building to frighten off bad spirits.
And they would certainly do that. Gargoyles are pretty, can look pretty menacing.
But that was the purpose of
yeah.
them. Because I think in our present day, we've become so 5G'd and we're so fast-paced that, not to be nostalgic and longing for the past, but to have that consciousness of the past and how it's formed us
Yeah.
in the present, and how and where it's taking us in the future.
Right.
And so that we don't destroy planet Earth because we're so fast-paced. We're forgetting, as you were saying, Good Witch, the connection to the Earth.
Yes.
And to the planet.
Yep.
And how we're related to it.
Exactly.
And the preciousness of the planet. It's up to us to protect her.
Yes,
So,
it is.
it has its own natural life cycle,
Right.
certainly, but that's a pretty long life cycle, I think, still.
We can't forget where we've come from.
Yeah.
We have to remember and honor our past.
Yeah.
You can't, yes, you're living in the present, you're looking towards the future, but you can't forget your past.
Yeah.
You can't forget your ancestors.
Right. I think it's
you need to
important to
honor
always
them.
remember your roots.
Exactly.
Yeah. And learn from them.
Definitely.
And also to not try not to make the same historical mistakes over
That's
and
for
over
sure.
and over again, but just at
Exactly.
new levels and packaging it up differently.
Yeah.
And coming up with, well, I'll do it better next time. Well, yeah, I know, because there's always going to be a next time because we're evolving.
Right.
So, I think that bringing into this idea of Halloween and the heart, and so in ways that we manage our heart and the health of our heart, and our heart can get scared, and remember, our heart tightens up when
Yep.
it's scared.
Yep.
So just breathing through the holidays, like any holiday, they can be hectic and exhausting.
Yep.
So, opening up the heart would be just a simple opening of the arms.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done this in the first few shows where I was on the floor with my yoga clothes on, laying over little pillows or the styrofoam balls, but you can just open up with your arms.
Yep.
And inhale, and then when you exhale, you can bring your arms back in and blow everything out. And just this gentle way of being open to the universe and all that there is to offer in love and light, but also being guarded and understanding that your heart is a precious part of who we are as humans, and to guard that heart and keep in a state of balance where we're not overly too open or overly too shut down.
Exactly.
Life is so short, though we've been thousands of years and thousands of years when we think about who we are, where we've been, and where we're going. There's so much mystery, Good Witch. What do you have to tell as anyone for something to help them through? They can't get on a broomstick and go riding the airwaves now, can they?
No, they can't. But they can just, as we've said, be open their heart, be open to love, be open to each other, be open to joy, and find balance. Again, always balance it, and enjoy the holidays.
Enjoying the holidays.
Yes.
And it's going to be, doorbell's going to ring. Children are going to be there looking adorable. Trick or treat. The dogs are going to be barking.
Yep.
You know what it's like. It's going to be there for us. So in any way that you can offset that to moderate your energy with that, because I know I've already done it. Sugar. I already had a Reese's peanut butter cup earlier today. I snuck one out of a basket somewhere.
You did. Oh my goodness.
And so I know that
No
you know,
wonder.
the sugar can get us going. So in making sure that, again, with the moderation of the sugar, and have a good Halloween, and understand that, you know, it is a good time to connect. The rituals aren't there for no reason. We've developed rituals beyond our routine. A routine would be we get up and we go brush our teeth. But a ritual separates that out because there's a different intention that's set that makes it something that becomes more of a spiritual type of practice as opposed to just a routine practice without any conscious application. So coming into the present, being aware, who knows, if you have a loved one who's passed over on the other side that you're missing gravely, and you have an old piece of their jewelry, you might want to put it in a little special place during this time of the year and see, you know. I always like to turn on some of the things that my dad used to like to watch. I'll put the golf on, or I'll put some football on from my brother, just because, you know, they're on the other side, you know. That's if you believe in that or not. And then I wanted to just bring a little light note to just the heart of it. So if you have a little party and you've got some apples, you can go bobbing, but put a wish on it maybe, and see what kind of wishes, like the little Chinese cookies.
Yes.
Fortune cookies.
Yes.
Maybe have an apple bobbing wish party or something. And then, well, I wanted to talk about the solfeggio frequencies and the Gregorian chants because, you know, I know that about the energy and the music, and we're going to be watching so many spooky shows. But do you have a favorite Halloween spooky show that you like to watch?
A Halloween spooky show?
Yes, well, you're the Good Witch. Which one is it?
Well, of course, I like watching The Good Witch on television.
Oh, The Good Witch.
Yeah, but Charlie Brown, Charlie Brown. It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
It was on last night. The Great Pumpkin was on last night.
Yep.
And The Nightmare Before Christmas, I am digging that. So if you haven't had a chance to see that, Jack the Pumpkin becomes a little sad that he only gets one time of the year. So
oh yes, I remember you watching that.
He robs and kidnaps Santa. And then after he kidnaps Santa, he thinks he's going to take over and be able to be the new Santa Claus, except he's not Santa. He's Jack O'Lantern, and he's only supposed to be doing his Halloween time. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. That'll be fun to see. I wanted to talk about the solfeggios, but I'm moving off of them. I'm not even going to bother.
Nope.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Remember that? Do, a deer, a female deer. Re, okay, a drop of golden sun. Me, a name I call myself. Darn it, didn't you know that's the solfeggio frequency? I know, I'm always researching. I'm always researching.
Yeah, you are, yeah.
But
you
know, my brain just can't, it just wants more.
It's amazing.
But seriously, I made the connection of that dot. And the solfeggio frequencies come from the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Amazing.
It's the scales,
yep.
You know, the scales and the numbers. Well, we're down to about 1 minute. You know, I read you that fairy tale poem in the beginning. Oh, we who are so old, ancients, old and gay. Remember, it's about your attitude with everything. And life's going to throw stuff. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, there's going to be darks, there's going to be lights. Find the bitter, find the better. Which way you're going to go, it's a choice. Love's a choice. And I haven't even had to try this tea yet.
The tea is delightful.
Remember to warm your soul up with some nice tea. And this is the Deliciously Organic. It's got lavender in it. I hope you stay well and warm. Stay safe over the Halloween. Blessings of love and light. You know I love you and keep you in my heart. And Reiki prayers. Stop in. We love everybody over here at Nutmeg TV. Tyler's here on the camera. Nancy and Joe are in the control room, and we've had a lovely time here. Thank you so much, Joan Goodwitch, for coming and visiting us and
Thank you.
Sharing a little bit of your lore.